on a family trip. I gave a reward to Mark, because he is serious and kind. Drinking trip, the best. When I called Howard, he was happily drinking at the travel destination. His cheerful attitude was infuriating. Despite that, because of Howard and Mark, Alyssa was left crying at home in the dark, holding a baby. Alyssa's hair was mercilessly chopped off, and the left side of her head was shaved so much that it could almost be called bald. She didn't even have eyebrows. It seems the two men punished her for cheating. Cool your head, Howard coldly said. I couldn't believe that Mark, who seemed like the picture of a good young man, would go so far as to commit such a violent act. We don't need this. Not this family, not these memories, not anything. I decided to leave Howard and also Mark. I had no lingering affection or emotion left. I am Susan Cohen, a housewife in her late 50s for whom work is a joy. Right now, I am extremely happy, because my only daughter, Alyssa, is getting married. Today, Mark, her boyfriend, has come to our house to greet us. My husband and I sat facing Alyssa and Mark. Mark sat up straight like a student at a job interview, blinking frequently, clearly nervous. I fell for Alyssa, who was a reliable senior at work, and pursued her relentlessly. I was rejected for movies and theme parks and was about to give up, but becoming close after she accompanied me for a hamburger after overtime was the turning point. Stop it, that's embarrassing. You don't need to talk about that. Mark scratched his head sheepishly. Oh? Really? Sorry, I thought I should tell your parents about how we met. The two were in a senior-junior relationship at work. Alyssa is 4 years older than Mark and turns 30 this year. A case of the wife being older. He seemed like a kind-hearted man. So it might end up being a household where Alyssa takes the lead. Mark was probably very nervous. His hand trembled slightly as he lifted his coffee cup. After drinking coffee, Mark declared, I will definitely make Alyssa happy. Mark, please take good care of Alyssa. Yes. I was relieved that my daughter's fiancé seemed like a sincere man. We saw Alyssa and Mark out and returned to the room. Howard was lying on the sofa playing with his smartphone where Mark had been sitting tensely during the greeting. During the greeting, Howard did not speak even once. He's usually not very talkative, but he could at least say, "Good morning," or something. This time, he didn't even grunt or nod. He just looked away with a stern face. The reason for Mark's nervousness could be said to be due to Howard's attitude. I apologized to Mark during the greeting, saying, "Dad is also nervous, he's not angry, so don't worry. I've heard that fathers are more shocked by their daughter's marriage than mothers." Imagining he was sulking inside, thinking, "I don't want to lose Alyssa," was somewhat endearing. Mark seems like a nice person. Upon hearing this, Howard twisted his face and said, "Huh?" He often goes silent when he's in a bad mood but rarely snaps. His suddenly sullen voice made me tense up. He's a good person? You have no eye for people. He's just flattering. Look, the liquor he brought. My favorite. But it's expensive, so I can't buy it often. I hate it. He thinks I'll be happy if he gives me expensive liquor. It was probably researched by Alyssa to choose a gift that would please him. Receiving a favorite gift and still complaining, I don't understand why there are complaints. So, Mark works at the same company as Alyssa, huh? That huge, famous company. So what if it's a big corporation? Just because they pay well doesn't mean they can act all high and mighty. Showing off that he can buy expensive liquor, so annoying. Is this outburst due to the complex feelings about his daughter's marriage? No, even if it feels lonely like losing his daughter, this is too much. Please stop. We hardly know Mark to speak ill of him like this. Alyssa chose him. Let's trust her decision. Clearly communicated, Howard seemed to deflate like the air had been let out of him. He slouched with a lack of confidence, mumbling and swallowing what he wanted to say. This is typical of Howard. Unable to find the right words, he chose silence. But his mood was clear from slamming doors and clicking his tongue. It's rare for him to suddenly snap like this, but as soon as I calmly interjected, Howard suddenly came back to his senses and fell silent. It's sad that I can't share the joy of my daughter's marriage with Howard. I remembered a similar dispute when Alyssa was going off to college. What? You're going to college? Alyssa was in her third year of high school winter when she first mentioned it. Despite having always attended tutoring and studied at home, it seems he hadn't noticed. Why? There's no need to go to college, right? It costs money, doesn't it? Alyssa explained her desire to pursue further education politely. However, Howard, seemingly not listening, aimlessly looked away while digging his little finger into his ear. As if to blow away Alyssa's fervent arguments, he blew on the dirty fingertip he pulled out of his ear. Study, Instead of that, you should get out into the field and learn work. There's a college grad of your age at my company. But it's a mystery to me why he's advancing ahead of me, a junior. Study is just lip service, anyway. College is just a place to play. What's so great about being a college grad? Such incredible prejudice. Yet, if I stood firm on Alyssa's education, Howard would fall silent. Despite Howard's visibly bad mood, Alyssa successfully got into her first-choice university. Not a word of congratulations from Howard. His sulky attacks became so routine they hardly bothered me anymore. And now, with the marriage, what's eating him, exceeding his usual grumpiness, he raised his voice. It seems Mark was indeed concerned about Howard's attitude. Despite Howard's bad attitude, Mark kept inviting him for drinks. Initially resistant, Howard gradually warmed up to Mark as they shared drinks. It was thanks to Mark being a good listener. So, Mark, I dislike highly educated guys. Despite my longer experience in society, I don't get why someone just because they're educated climbs over me. Isn't this world messed up? Yes, Father. Howard was in a good mood at our dining table. When I brought over snacks, I apologized to Mark, but he smiled and shook his head slightly. That's why I'm counting on you, Mark. Lowly despite being a college grad. Yeah, that's good. You're not in a managerial position despite being a college grad, huh? You must really be incompetent at work. As Howard's demeaning words continued, I hurried to stop him. Yet again, Mark smiled and said, "It's okay. See. Look. My wife is bossing around here. I've failed in educating my wife. But, Mark, there's still hope for you. Think of your wife as your servant. Don't worry even if you don't achieve results at work. After all, others won't evaluate us correctly. Make the house your domain. Got it? Yes. I understand, Father. This was the first time I saw Howard so drunk. Perhaps he's happy because a college-educated person is bowing and scraping to him. Even though such abusive language is not excusable. Mark kept his smile and continued to uplift Howard. What a remarkable person he is. He made efforts to get close to his fiancée's father. I was sure Alyssa's future would be bright. She was bound to have a wonderful married life, I was completely reassured. Accepted by Howard. Alyssa and Mark got married and are living in an apartment about 20 minutes away. By train from our house. Soon, Alyssa was pregnant. Coming home for childbirth? No. Kids are noisy. Alyssa requested to come home for her childbirth, but Howard outright refused it. It's her first childbirth, so it's understandable that she's anxious. I'll cut back on work and support her properly. Please, Howard, it won't trouble you, so let's help her. We're family after all. With just that, Howard pouted and fell silent. It's as if I could hear his inner voice saying, I guess I have to do as you say anyway. It's not that I want to ignore Howard's feelings. So, I explained how important postpartum support is. But Howard wouldn't say yes or no, leaving me at a loss. I'll be coming the day after tomorrow, I'll be coming tomorrow. I kept counting down to inform Howard. And somehow managed to have Alyssa come home for her childbirth. Alyssa safely gave birth, and she's spending a relaxing time at our home now. The first granddaughter was named Mia. The newborn baby I held after a long time was soft, floppy, and had a sweet smell. Even Howard couldn't help but smile at this cuteness. He doesn't know how to handle the baby and doesn't show it much interest. But he pretends to pass by and sneak glances at Mia. After resting for about a month, the day for Alyssa to return to her own home arrived. Mark came to pick her up, and I felt a bit sad that this happy time was ending. Mark, it must have been tough being alone, huh? I'm sorry for letting her indulge in such pampering like coming home. Alyssa really took the opportunity to slack off to the max here. Once you get home, make sure she works hard to make up for all the slacking. Probably trying to assert his authority, Howard said something like that. I was about to scold him when Mark spoke up first. Understood, father. Mark seems to have gotten quite used to handling Howard. He agrees to avoid any tension. I don't want to go back. Alyssa muttered anxiously, uncharacteristic for her usually composed self. What's wrong? Before Alyssa could say anything, Mark put his arm around her shoulder. You can't always depend on your mother. Trying to hold back tears, Alyssa nodded. Maybe she found it hard to leave the comfort of her home. I won't be able to help much from now on, but with Mark by her side, there shouldn't be anything to worry about. I significantly reduced my workload this past month. I made sure to come home without doing overtime and even took a few days off. Far from being tired from taking care of Mia, I felt energized and was brimming with motivation for work. At the company, they were just waiting to send me on a business trip. I'm motivated to work hard to buy cute toys for my granddaughter. And then, a few days after returning from the business trip, it was late at night when I thought of delivering souvenirs to Alyssa's house. And holding Mia tomorrow. Excited about this, I was about to open the door to my house when I faintly heard a baby's cry. It was a fragile and weak cry. Happy that Alyssa was at my house, a sudden unease struck me. Something was wrong. Right, my house was completely dark. As I opened the door, the crying became louder. No doubt about it. Mia was inside the house. Yet, why were there no lights on? Alyssa, are you there? No answer. Only Mia's cries echoed. I took off my shoes and rushed through the house. As I opened the living room door, I could vaguely see a figure in the darkness. Cautiously, I turned on the light. Ah! I instinctively screamed and stepped back. There was Alyssa, holding Mia, tears streaming down her face. But I couldn't recognize it was Alyssa right away. Why? Because her hair was chopped off, and the left side of her head was shaved almost bald. Alyssa? Are you okay? What happened? When I rushed to Alyssa, not only was her hair gone, but her eyebrows as well. I almost screamed again and instinctively hugged her. Alyssa's raspy crying directly hit my ears, and my heart felt unbearably heavy. I held Alyssa for a long time. Eventually, she whispered the reason for this catastrophe. Dad did this. What? Why? No matter how upset or angry he got, he had never resorted to violence before. Could this be a mistake? But Alyssa's next words confused me even more. And Mark. A what? No way. That's impossible. Not Mark, who is like the epitome of a good young man. Shocked, I recoiled, and Alyssa's vacant eyes caught mine. At that moment, I was certain it was true. Alyssa wouldn't lie. But why? Alyssa spoke of an unbelievable reason with difficulty. Because I cheated. That's absurd. But the truth is, despite believing in Alyssa wholeheartedly, the story seemed too far-fetched. Barely keeping my sanity, I called Howard for confirmation.
Yeah.
Hello? Howard's voice was cheerful on the phone, background noise suggesting he was out. It seemed he was drinking. Where are you? I intended to ask gently after a deep breath, but my tone turned harsh. However, Howard seemed too happy drinking to care. On a family trip. Family? With who? With Mark. Gave the serious and kind Mark a reward. Drinking trip, the best. You also go on business trips, acting all important, but you're just eating local food, right? Alcohol and food always taste better on trips, don't they? Alyssa was trembling right next to me, yet Howard cheerfully responded. He apparently forgot that my business trip ended today. Oh, a drinking trip. Just the two of you? What about Alyssa and Mia? They're home alone. Had to cool off their heads a bit, so we decided to go out. I replied with a strained, "Is that so?" feeling too pained to keep the phone to my ear. Anger overflowed within me, but it seemed pointless to vent to this cheerful man now. Men need a break too. It's unfair for women to always use kids as an excuse to take a break. That's why I took a week off. Let the company realize they can't function without me. When you get home, it'll be a mess. Thought I'd clean up. No way, I'm not a cleaning robot. In the background, I heard voices agreeing, right. Unfortunately, it was Mark's voice. The faint hope that maybe Mark was just swept along by Howard was dashed. Stunned by the call's end, Alyssa told me. He wasn't a good person. Rather, Mark was. Tears overflowed from Alyssa's eyes again. Even Mia, who was about to fall asleep in my arms, started fussing. I don't want to see their sad tears anymore. Hurting Alyssa, what kind of trip is that? What kind of family is that? What were the past 30 years spent with me and Alyssa to Howard? A father who has pushed away his own daughter, who he has protected for 30 years, is no longer needed. Alyssa was trembling slightly as I quietly asked her. Do you need such a family, Alyssa? Shall we just leave them behind? As I said this, 30 years of memories flashed through my mind like a kaleidoscope. The day Alyssa was born. The day Alyssa first said, "Daddy." Howard was crying and jumping around in excitement. It seems he truly loved Alyssa when she was little. I was about to think he wasn't all bad. But then I remembered how he would get inexplicably upset for trivial reasons, one after another. He once got sulky because Alyssa called me mommy more often than daddy. And left me and Alyssa in a distant park. The bad memories outweigh the good ones by 100-fold. And on top of that, this treatment of Alyssa. As a member of the family, Howard's necessity is zero. Perhaps sensing my resolve, Alyssa, although still trembling, looked straight into my eyes. I don't need it. Hearing her response, I nodded deeply. We don't need this. Not this family, not these memories, nothing at all. I resolved to leave Howard and also Mark behind. There was no lingering affection or sentiment left. It was a week later when Howard called incessantly like a demon. I decided to answer the phone because he was so persistent. Anticipating being yelled at, I lightly covered my ear. But Howard's voice lacked its usual vigor and seemed to be probing.
Uh,
The house, it's gone. When I didn't respond immediately, Howard continued nervously. I'm pretty sure I'm at the right place, but the house, it's gone, right? Hey, Mark, the house is gone, isn't it?
ah,
Yes. It's gone. They must feel like they're in a dream. When something that should be there is completely gone, anyone would be bewildered. They return to their familiar home after a week to find nothing there. No gatepost, no flower bed, not even the large house. It was all gone, leaving only a clean square plot of land.
ah,
I sold that land of ours. Sold? Sold it? Howard's voice cracked. He seemed unable to comprehend the situation, forgetting even his anger. Yes, I sold it to a real estate agent. It was an old house to begin with, it was quite worn, and above all, I didn't want to live in a house soaked with memories of you. I thought it's better to just demolish everything. It was my house, in my name, so I did as I pleased. No way. That's a lie, right? Howard's lament sounded deflated. Ignoring him was unpleasant, being yelled at was unpleasant. But his weak, whiny attitude was exceedingly annoying. Howard always felt inferior to me because I earned more. I never blamed or looked down on him for that, but he was always conscious of it. But, how can you just, why? Why? I wonder why he asks. He should know why such drastic measures were taken. Because of Alyssa.
ah,
He surely hasn't forgotten about Alyssa during a week of fooling around. No, it's different. It's Alyssa's fault. She cheated, can you believe it? Cheating? Yes. So, to make her reflect, I cut her hair. Reflecting means going bald, right? If she looks like that, no guy would approach her, and she couldn't cheat anymore. Who has the time to cheat while holding a newborn baby? Yet, it seems Mark suspected Alyssa of cheating. Suddenly, Mark interrupted the call. Listen, mother. There are days when Alyssa does absolutely no housework. So, what was she doing all day? That's men for you. Right, father? So, the shallow conclusion reached by two naive men was cheating. Why didn't childcare cross their minds as a reason for not being able to do housework? It's proof they're uninterested in childcare, leaving it all to the wife. There's proof. I saw Alyssa exchanging messages with a guy from work. Thank you for the baby gift, she said. When I confronted Alyssa, she had received a branded bib as a gift from him. Exchanging gifts means they're close. I already heard the situation from Alyssa. A close female colleague from work, who collected baby gifts from several colleagues, brought them over. Normal people wouldn't think receiving baby bibs or socks as gifts suggests anything illicit. So, I thought I'd have father scold her too, but he started cutting her hair to make her reflect. As expected of father. It's time to teach the hierarchy between husband and wife. Mark was breathing heavily. Alyssa hasn't cheated. No, if a woman isn't doing her duties at home, it's because of another man. Was Mark always this kind of person? I despise myself for once believing he was a dependable, good young man. Then let me say this. Suspecting your partner of cheating often means you're cheating, doesn't it? What? No, that's not. He was visibly flustered. I heard from Alyssa. You've been bringing women to our home when Alyssa was away for her childbirth, haven't you? How did you know? So it was true. You seem to think very little of Alyssa, but we know all about your actions. A gasp could be heard. You've been bringing different women home almost every day. Having them take care of household chores and even your personal needs. You were paying these women, too. Did you use one of those popular dating apps? You must have enjoyed feeling like a king. In fact, Alyssa knew all about Mark's betrayal. When she tried to confront Mark about his infidelity, he turned aggressive and harmed her. What? Mark was cheating. Of course, Alyssa would have reported it. But the foolish Howard completely trusted Mark over his own daughter. He probably found his son-in-law more endearing. You're kidding. So, Mark cheated in retaliation because Alyssa cheated first? Mark remained silent. Even if being influenced by Howard changed his character, it doesn't excuse his actions. Anyway, who demolishes a house out of spite for cheating? Howard still doesn't grasp the gravity of his actions. It's not just about cheating. I'm angry because you hurt Alyssa. Even after explaining this much, Howard and Mark remain nonchalantly indifferent. Huh? Was she injured? I don't remember cutting her ear with scissors. I used a clipper for the first time, but it was easy. Maybe I could become a barber. It's impossible to have a rational conversation with them. Alyssa faced them alone and was abused. She must have been terrified. She must have been anxious that Mia could also be harmed. Anyway, I've had enough of Howard. As you can see, there's no home for you to return to. Since you seem to prefer Mark over Alyssa, let him take care of you. All your belongings are at Mark's place. Of course, Alyssa and Mia are not there. Upon declaring this, disappointed voices from two people could be heard. They might have been too shocked to be angry, realizing their home had vanished after their trip. After hanging up, the two arrived at Mark's apartment. Alyssa and I could monitor their actions through a certain method. Wow, a mountain of cardboard boxes. These are father-in-law's belongings, right? Mother-in-law must be really mad to even demolish the house. What are we going to do? So the house is really gone. I always knew my wife looked down on me. Having an education and earning more, but she fails as a wife. Even now, he still badmouths me. Wait, is it true Mark cheated? And it wasn't Alyssa's fault? I did give money to women for fun. Howard grimaced. How did you get caught? If you're going to play, you have to do it smartly. It irks me to apologize to Alyssa now, so I have no choice but to keep denying it. I didn't cheat, I don't know anything. Understood. Howard then sat heavily on the sofa, fidgeting restlessly. Alyssa also received gifts from men, and above all, my wife who destroyed the house is overwhelmingly at fault.
Yeah.
We're not the bad ones. They might be pretending to be confident while panicking inside. Though I knew talking was useless, I couldn't help but speak up. Who's not bad? Yikes. Howard screamed like a frog when my voice suddenly filled the room. I thought you might reflect a little, but you're only thinking about saving yourself. What? Where are you? Howard and Mark rushed to each other, holding hands and looking around. They even kicked the cardboard boxes, checking if I was hiding inside. As I said, we see everything you do. Always watching. With this camera. Camera? They searched the room and finally noticed the camera on the shelf. Alyssa and I were watching them through a nanny cam installed in the room, which also allowed us to communicate. Hidden camera? You've been filming us? That's messed up. You're lying. Mark's contorted face appeared up close on the screen. Alyssa, staying calm, made her resolve clear. Filming? That sounds so sinister. It's just a camera for watching over children. Surveillance is surveillance. How dare you, a woman, pull such a stunt? Next time. Making you bald won't be enough. How about I make those eyes useless? Seeing Mark's fury, I was at a loss for words. The mask of a good young man shattered completely. Alyssa's side profile whispering, "I don't want to go back." On her last day of maternity leave came to mind. Apparently, Mark changed after getting married. Despite both working, he started showing attitudes that housework is a woman's job, and that a wife should pamper her husband. It just so happens that Mark's verbal abuse and cheating were caught on the nanny cam. Oh, what a shock. Alyssa remained composed, provoking Mark, who then furiously grabbed the camera and smashed it on the floor. The camera continued to stream Mark's tantrum. "Don't mess with me. Thinking you can trap a man. Don't underestimate men." Though Mark went to a good university and works for a decent company, his maturity is childlike. I thought he was just going along with Howard, but maybe he deeply resonated with his words. Mark, do you have an inferiority complex? Is it because Alyssa is your senior and earns more? If that's the case, you should focus on improving your skills instead of pulling others down. He brags because he lacks such capabilities. While stomping furiously as if in a tantrum, Mark screamed filthy words that denigrated Alyssa's character. "How dare you be so presumptuous, just because you're a woman?" After enduring several minutes of unbearable verbal abuse, Alyssa softly said, "This camera has a recording function, you know." Immediately, the torrent of abuse stopped. The tone shifted to pitiful whining. "No, that's not what I meant. I was just being spoiled because I love Alyssa." There's nothing more nauseating than the tears of someone who was just puffing themselves up. Disgusted, Alyssa and I ended the call. Mark dragged Howard over, and the two of them started bowing deeply on the floor. Seeing Howard's thinning crown only added to the discomfort. It's too late for apologies that seem like a performance. The following is what Alyssa told me happened next. The next day, Mark showed up at work looking haggard. His first day back after taking a week of leave. Perhaps because of this, he found his colleagues' stares piercing. "What's up? Are you curious about my swollen eyes? Kind of looks like conjunctivitis, right?" Mark's eyes were red and swollen from crying during yesterday's apologies. His attempts to laugh it off didn't change the chilly gazes from his colleagues. He seemed crushed by an atmosphere that laid bare all his foes. Then Alyssa appeared. Though it wasn't strange for a colleague from the same company to be there, Mark was as startled as if he had seen a ghost. "Why are you here?" Mark screamed. "I came to thank everyone for the baby gifts." "Huh? Now? This isn't the time for that. Stop showing that scary face." But now was precisely the point. Alyssa was wearing a hat, but the shaved eyebrows and hairline were unmistakable. Everyone was shocked by her appearance. The colleagues, who had only heard Alyssa's side of the story with some skepticism, now seemed to realize the truth from Mark's panicked reaction. "It's not true. I'm not the bad one. She was a bad wife. So no, I didn't do anything. I don't know anything." No matter how much he tried to deny it, there was no escaping the truth. Alyssa and Mark eventually divorced. And the reason for their divorce spread quickly through the company, making Mark's life there unbearable. Even clinging to his job at a large company, Mark's time was up. Fired. Fired? No way. After enduring all the bullying from everyone, fired? Alyssa had reported Mark's abuse to the police. Mark was prosecuted at home and fined. He might not have ended up in prison, but a criminal record was attached to him. He couldn't complain about being fired for misconduct. The nanny cam, which had been disconnected for a while, showed Mark's bald head. The hair was cleanly shaved, revealing a bluish scalp. "Can you see me?" "Alyssa, I was wrong. I'm a convict now, and unemployed. Are you satisfied now?" As you can see, I've shaved my head. I'm reflecting. Alyssa started the call without hesitation. If only we could turn back time. Alyssa.
Yeah.
Let's turn back time and start over. Alyssa's hair had grown back enough to be styled into a very short cut. And her eyebrows had also returned. Her clear features made her look like a cool older sister. And her expression had brightened considerably. Impossible. Time can't be turned back. And if by some miracle it could be, I would go back to before I met you and make sure we never crossed paths. Alyssa's voice didn't tremble anymore. This is the last time we'll talk like this. Everything else will be handled by my lawyer. A lawyer? We're already divorced, what more is there? Adultery compensation. I told you, the camera has a recording function. We have irrefutable evidence. As Mark kneeled, he punched the floor in frustration. I'm unemployed, you know? I've been arrested, too. You still want to do this? You're heartless. I immediately turned off the call. I had no time to listen to his vitriol. As for Howard, the cause of all this chaos, he's been dodging our divorce. Whining that he doesn't want it. He, too, was fired from his long-term job due to the assault charge against Alyssa. With no job, no home, and not wanting to lose his family. It's no wonder I find him lurking near my workplace. I just got mad because Alyssa earns more than me. I thought I'd discipline her with Mark, you know, as education. I might have gone too far, but I had no bad intentions. It seems Alyssa was attacked because of Howard's inferiority complex. You had no bad intentions? That's right. No bad intentions at all. I'm shocked it's come to involving the police in a parent-child issue, but I'll forgive that. I can't fathom why he thinks he's in a position to forgive. Harming someone without malice is even more terrifying. You don't even understand what you did wrong, which means there's no hope for reform. I don't want to be near someone so dangerous. I couldn't bear it if you hurt my precious daughter or granddaughter again. But Alyssa is my precious daughter too. You're just going to take her away? We're family, aren't we? Hearing the word family from him is infuriating. Howard shamelessly clings to us. Where are you guys living now? Let's live as a family again. I have nowhere to go. When I tried to return to my parents, they said, "You're no son of ours," and wouldn't even open the door. You told them about Alyssa, didn't you? Even my father has abandoned me, so I have no one but you. Alyssa had informed her in-laws herself. They were so shocked by their granddaughter's condition that they felt dizzy. No matter how much he's their biological son, they wouldn't accept Howard, the ringleader. Ultimately, Howard has nowhere to go. He lingered mournfully on the now empty lot where our house once stood, spending a few days on the ground. Of course, he was reported as a suspicious person and lost that place too. Howard's final refuge was Mark's place. Though the living room camera was unplugged, the bedroom camera was still connected. Hey, haven't you found a job yet? I guess people without an education really are hopeless. What did you say? You're just a temp worker yourself. Even with a record, there's a difference in brain power. I still get hired. Unlike someone who can't even get a temp job because of a record and lack of brains. They bickered, yet strangely seemed to get along. Alyssa quietly deleted the nanny cam app. Their future is of no interest to us, and there's no need to spy any longer. Living on only Mark's temp job wages, they'll probably end up homeless together soon. Meanwhile, I live with Alyssa and Mia. More than half a year has passed since the ordeal, and Alyssa's hair has grown to cover her ears. As her hair grows, her smile returns to its former brightness. I was worried she might withdraw into herself, but instead, she's energetically taking Mia out. Not wanting to waste her maternity leave. I learned something even from such a father. There are things more important than education or income. As Alyssa stroked Mia's head, her face was filled with genuine kindness. Mia, showing 2 little teeth, grinned widely. I want to protect this smile. Catching each other's eye, Alyssa and I surely shared the same sentiment.